was cause and effect of my fellowship was this project of looking at building a platform that could coalesce and intersect all the different spectrums of food waste and social justice. So I'm very appreciative of that. In the course of my fellowship, I picked up the practice of meditation. One of my coaches, Chris Block, who is also a fellow, conducted meditation at every meeting, and I was his faithful pupil. And I can tell you that growing up in a community of color, meditation was something that was looked at that you were either gay or a nerd or it was hocus pocus. And because of that level of, let's call it what it is, ignorance, you really didn't have a high level of interest in understanding what meditation and the practice of being present and aware. But I slowly picked this up because Chris, being the Zen-like person, made me understand that the practice is about meditation, but it's also about what happens out of practice. The mindfulness and the awareness of what things are going around you and how they impact you. And then with care, a mindful approach to address those circumstances and issues. So I thought that was powerful within itself. Mindful eating came from the respect that that's what I do. I'm a culinary, I'm not in the mindfulness lane, so I'm saying, well, how can I take this and apply it to eating practices? Mindful eating and mindfulness over the last couple of years have been huge movements, but they haven't been connected to communities of color or the beloved community. So I thought that that was something that immediately needed to be addressed in the form of building a bridge to a platform. And with the level of research that's been done around disease-related circumstances around obesity, now there's a huge epidemic in youth and child obesity. The problem has gotten a lot worse. And so having old solutions to new problems just really isn't a framework that we can think that we're going to be successful in. And so with your direction of, okay, go on and create something that's a framework that I can help you develop, it made a lot of sense to talk about these elements in the framework of food, race, and social justice, because mindful eating for the beloved community has all of those elements, and I consider it a multi-lane highway that can converge, meaning that we all, in our own space, need to get on the highway. And some can be in the fast lane, some can be in the middle, some can be in the right. But mindfulness, to me, and how I've been able to receive the results and impact is just the testimonials of people understanding, of rearranging their life and really just asking themselves the question of, how is this serving me? And is this serving me nutritiously? Is it serving me? Is this a treat? And a lot of people need to just really put things and reorganize them. Am I against eating ice cream? No, I'm not against eating ice cream. But it's a treat. It doesn't serve you nutritiously. I tell this story about, if I'm working out 3 weeks straight and I want a treat, I'll go run into a McDonald's, you see someone that looks like me, I'll order a filet of fish, throw out half the bun, and that's my treat, and I eat it without guilt. And people say, well, why? I'm like, because I deserve it. And that's okay, but understanding that the place for that is, it doesn't serve me nutritiously, it's in a small place called treating myself. And so if we could rearrange, from the individual to the family to the community, rearrange this level of consciousness, the power of that will drive a very, I would say, extreme subterranean momentum of health equity within the community.
So one of the things that seems clear, that it seems easy to understand that if we thought more about what we eat, if we were more conscious of where it came from and what we're eating, that we would be healthier personally. But there's a whole thing in here in your conversation about also the connection to social justice and the connection to the kind of policy problems that prevent people from getting wholesome food and that lead to people being malnourished. And then even this morning we saw, for example, that the problems that we face around the globe, a lot of them are produced by these major policy issues, war, violence, and it's not that we can't produce enough food, it's that we're not able to turn our consciousness into action. So I really want to try to flesh this out. One of the things that's exciting in the book to me also is this element that talks about moving beyond the conversation about health to the conversation about social change, about racial equity. And we know that we've lost something in our dialogue, in our homes, in our communities, in our faith-based organizations. I'd like to ask Bishop Pringle to comment on this, about where do you see the connection between mindful eating, faith, and the dialogue that takes place in people's homes and community-based organizations that leads to social change?
I have, in response to your question, approximately 30 years of experience as a leader in one of the most influential institutions in our world, in our nation, especially in communities where we will find the majority of our Black and brown people, and that would be the church. And after serving so many years, I've discovered that when it comes to a very important scripture of the Bible, 3 John 1 and 2, it makes it emphatically clear that it is the will of God that we prosper and be in good health. That is a message that is not being taught, is not being delivered. What we find a lot in the church world, especially in these communities, we find a lot of emotionalism and sensationalism when it comes to the preaching and the teaching, which in return basically exasperates the whole issue that stems from years and years of being miseducated. And we've been miseducated in thinking that there's some outside source that's causing certain ills that exist in our communities, when in reality, it is a lack of understanding. Instead of being educated in the religious community, we find a lot of times we're being edutained. We're coming in one way and leaving out worse than what we were when we went in. There is an individual, wonderful author by the name of Shane Shaw, and she authored a book entitled Supersizing Urban America. And in Supersizing Urban America, she was dealing with the whole concept of obesity, which is a terrible epidemic in the Black and brown communities all across the globe, but especially in those communities. And of course, there are some conservatives that will not agree. They will find that to be considered as somewhat of an indictment. But with Black and brown people in impoverished communities in America, that's not an indictment. That is a social issue. That is a problem. And this stems from not only being miseducated, but it also stems from allowing ignorance to become our inconvenience. We don't see where there is a need to know better. We don't see where there's a need to do better. When you have been in trouble all of your life, being in trouble is therefore your knowing. So you have no idea that you're in trouble because all you know is being in trouble. It takes a voice. It takes a bold voice. It takes someone who's willing to go against the norm. It takes an individual to have a sincere interest in the betterment of the people in these communities, that's willing to touch on subjects that would be considered by many as being taboo. Let's go back to supersizing urban America. She's talking about obesity. Well, first of all, I believe in our Hispanic communities, we have something that are called bordeos. We know them as the corner stores. And we also have fast food restaurants. Briefly, let me speak on the corner store. In certain communities, because they do not have access to the major chain supermarkets, such as a Kroger's or Publix, what have you, they are forced to purchase their foods from these corner stores. These corner stores, they are stocked with foods that maintain low nutritional value, wherein we have obesity, heart diseases, we have a high rate of diabetes, and they're not unhealthy willingly. They are unhealthy because they have no choice. Those are the only options that they have. Let's look at fast food restaurants. I believe it was 1968, right around 1968, after all the riots of that era, Black and brown people, they were still trying to recover from the assassination of some of the most important figures in their communities. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, and the list goes on and on, while simultaneously still trying to deal with generations of oppression and being treated as the less than, other than the greater than, or the equal than. And so President Nixon, he thought it was a great idea to allow the government of our nation to fund Black and brown people and give them the ability to own fast food restaurants. So we have McDonald's going into our communities. So in return, so many other fast food chains, they saw, wow, having one of our locations in a Black and brown community, listen, that's lucrative. So here comes Hardee's, here comes all of these. But what happened is only a very few of those who've been in those communities for years benefited from that. The majority of them, they didn't benefit from that. They have yet to realize that fast food is causing slow death. They have yet to realize that that which is cheap is actually the most expensive. So we need to take a bold position and present these concepts in these communities through the most important institutions that lie in those communities. Get the attention of the people with scientific and historical facts, helping them to understand you are in trouble. Harriet Tubman, she stated, I would have saved many more slaves had they known they were slaves. You have no idea you are unhealthy. Allow me to reference this and then I'm not sure. In the religious community, faith-based community, we have a propensity to blame our ills and our conditions on this unseen phenomenon called Satan or the devil, or whatever you choose to call. I am a preacher, but I tend to subscribe to a different school of thought. I personally believe that what you experience in life, you attract to yourself. And so if we were to take the necessary efforts to raise the level of consciousness, starting with, and many may not agree with this, starting with our youth, because after the age of 45, which that would include me, at the age of 50, it's kind of difficult to change their level of consciousness when it comes to this sort of thing. So we must introduce something to our youth, and I do not believe, contrary to popular belief, that we need to present it with a seasoning of emotionalism and sensationalism. I don't believe we need Justin Bieber to be on stage in order for them to understand this concept. Just give them scientific and historical
facts. Give them a reason to mentally accept this as their personal belief. And we can start with this generation, and then these concepts will be bequeathed to the next generation and moving forward. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. And I might say, can we get an amen? But, so you raised the challenge of youth, which is so important to all of us. I mean, many people in the room are working with youth. And we know that early in our life, we develop the habits that we then carry out through the rest of our lives, and those habits sometimes lead us to all kinds of diet-related illness. And so I want to give the next question to Chef Adam Joseph, who is in a unique position of being an educator in the culinary industry and working with youth of color in this industry. My question is really twofold. How do you see the cultural perspective of youth now in the community that you serve around food, and addressing really where Reverend Pringle left us? What happens if we can really successfully introduce mindfulness in this formative period of a person's life?
Right. Thank you, David. First of all, I don't know how I ended up on stage with these guys, because I just do, he's hard to follow. But what I do and what I'm charged with and what I've chosen to do is working with the youth. And it started at the post-secondary level, which I think is a little bit easier because these are young people who have decided to go on to college, who are faced with the fact that in the position of having to feed themselves. And sometimes mindfulness comes by way of a lifestyle. Sometimes the way we eat is involuntary. So when you don't have enough money, what do you do? And that's why we've been enticed with the fast food era of $1 meals, $5 trays, and things like that. And so what I've been doing and what I was taught, this is all I'm doing, is passing on what I was taught.